Shalom. All praises to the Heavenly Father. Hatun Apukuya. Praise be to the earthly mother, the Pachamama, and all of her earthly angels, the Huaka. Praise be to the Holy Spirit, the Kahe. In the name of Hamashiach, Matzo the Lamb, unification to the nation. So, guys, we are starting a new series, and I wanted to start talking about the connection between the Lord of the Rings as well as the movie Avatar. We might go into that second season, The Witcher, that brother, I forgot to say his name, but that he's been going over and that he told Big Judah about. And it all goes back to the Elves. So I've also been able to connect it with the Oahspe book. So that's why part 1 is going to be about that. So this is going to be a very interesting series. Watching The Lord of the Rings now, having seen it for the first time in many years, man, it makes the movie that much more interesting. And it might make the movie that much more interesting for you when you're watching it. Because many of the things that J.R.R. Tolkien got, he got it from our history and our lore. I'm 100% certain about that at this point. After looking at some of the quote-unquote races that are within the Lord of the Rings, I'm just like, man, this stuff is really crazy. You have hobbits, you have dwarves, elves, you have Gandalf. We're gonna get into all of it. You got the orcs. Yo, that dude, Remedy M, something like that. He be calling the white folks orcs, bro. That joint funny as hell, man. Oh man. But yeah, we're gonna get into it. And looking at those different quote unquote races in Lord of the Rings, I was just like, wait a minute. That's just like in Oahspe. So that's why in part 1 we're gonna touch on that first, and we're gonna go a little bit into the Lord of the Rings. We might, I don't know. So let's start, man. So we've went over this before, but just to go over it again. So in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and the Lord made man upright. And man was naked and not ashamed, neither knew man the sin of incest, but he dwelt as the beast of the field. And the Lord brought the angels of heaven to man, and by his side they took on forms like unto man, having all organs and attributes of mortals. For it was the time of the earth for such things to be. So I didn't get the precept, but you could precept this in the Book of Remembrance of Enoch. I'll probably talk about this in maybe part 2 or whenever I'd make the next part of this series. But it pretty much says that quote unquote Adam, or what the book calls Yatsaquad, the first father, that at the very start, he was not given a soul. In fact, many things on the earth were not given a soul. And once the soul of Matzah went into them, that is when they started to make these strange exclamations, right? But without his soul, they're just cold and unmoving, right? It's true. Now, these creatures that are without his soul, they're destroyed at this point, but they didn't get destroyed all at once. They got destroyed like around the flood, pretty much. That's when they got destroyed. But before then, they were around, right? And who knows? Some of them could be alive right now. I wouldn't even know, right? I would not put it past me. And it came to pass that a new race was born on the earth, and these were called Ihumans, because they were begotten of both heaven and earth. Hence it became a saying, the earth conceived of the Lord. And the name of the first race was Asu, or Adam, because they were of the earth only. And the name of the second race was Ihin, or Abel. Well, listen, don't read too much into the apparent what are they called, bro? Parentheses, excuse me, because they were capable of being taught spiritual things. So skipping down, and just to say, the Ihumans, they are the sons of the first father. That's why I said don't believe the the parentheses, what they have. Like, no, the Ihumans come from so-called Adam. And the Asu, they are the beings that were around before Adam. There were different, quote unquote, human fleshly beings upon the earth. But the Most High, through his Son, breathed into only two beings. What people know as Adam and Eve, or Yats and Kawa. Right? So some of the children of the Ihumans, or Yats, they laid down with the soulless beings, with the ones without a soul. And that created the Druks. They committed a sin of quote unquote incest, and it created the Druks. Now, the Druks, in this book, it says that they were black and brown and tall, and the Ihumans were white and yellow and short. But the thing about this is, and I've said this in other parts where I covered the book of Oahspe, is that the people in the Pacifics are not white and yellow. The people in the Pacifics are brown and black. And the natives they didn't say that they fought against black giants. That isn't said there weren't any, swarthy giants, because, you had the people of Nimrod and stuff like that, and the Canaanites. Unless the Canaanites were so-called, white-looking people, or they were both, I don't know, either way. But the ones that they fought against, the ones that the natives fought against, were so-called white giants with red hair and blue eyes and stuff like that. So they're trying to say that the Druks, or the mixture between the Ihumans and the Asu, which pretty much only have like half a soul or a lot less of a soul than the chosen seed line of the Ihumans, right? They're trying to switch the places. In reality, it is the short brown and black people in the Pacifics that inhabited the continent of Mu. And the Druks were the tall white and yellow people with the red hair and stuff like that. They were the fallen angels, and or what they consider as the quote unquote fallen angels, or what have you. These giant beings with red hair and a bunch of different fingers and toes and stuff like that. And how I'm comparing this to the Lord of the Rings and that story is that the Ihumans are the hobbits. The Ihumans are the hobbits. So you go down this this book, and it gives you a telling of the Ihumans and the magnificent structures that they built, and the Druks kept following around and taking their stuff. These tall white people kept following around these short brown and black people, and just kept messing with them, taking over their knowledge that was given to them by the Most High. The Druks, they don't have as much of a soul as the Ihumans. Next chapter. So the Asu, they disappeared off the face of the earth after a time, as it also says in the book of Remembrance of Enoch. But before then, the Druks, they laid down with the Asu and created another race called the Yaks. So you have the Ihumans, or the hobbits. You have the Druks, or what are in the Lord of the Rings are as the orcs. The orcs. The Druks, I believe they are the orcs. And then you have the Yaks, which are a mixture of those soulless beings, right? The soulless beings and the Druks. And the Yaks are the dwarves, as I'm going to show you. Or I might show you, I don't know. Now, the mixture between the Ihumans and the Druks, we'll read that in a second. We'll start at verse 20. The Ihumans said, "Our people are scattered and gone. Will they not mingle with the Druks, and thus go out in darkness? And the Lord said, Behold, there were Druks who had learned a little from the images. Now, because thy people are scattered and gone, they shall go amongst the Druks and teach the law of incest in the name of God. And they shall go also begin to hide their nakedness. So the Lord inspired other peoples besides the Ihumans to make and wear clothes, and they thus wore them. And again the Lord brought the Ihumans together in lodges and cities, and he said unto them, Henceforth ye shall live upon the earth as an example of righteousness. And your brethren who have mingled with the tribes of darkness shall no longer molest you, but be your defenders and protectors. And there began a new tribe on the earth, and they were called the Ihumans, because they were half-breeds betwixt the Druks and the Ihumans. And the Ihumans were red like copper, and they were taller and stronger than any other people in all the world. And the Lord commanded the Ihumans, saying, Protect ye the Ihumans, the little people, white and yellow. Call them the sacred people, for ye are of them, and ye are also of the Lord your God. And it was so. The Ihumans are pretty much us, the quote-unquote Israelites. That's who we are. The Aboriginal peoples, the short brown and black people, those are the Ihumans. The Ihumans, they were pretty much given all of the power in the world to combat the Druks or the Orcs. The Ihumans are the Elves. They were taller and stronger than anyone else in the world. Those are the Elves. They pretty much have dominion over the whole earth, pretty much. Now, the Orcs are bigger and stronger, but the Elves, they're long and slender and graceful. They're the prettiest. The Hobbits, they're the simple people, the small little people, but they're the most pure of heart. And it's funny because in the Book of Remembrance, it actually says that we're supposed to be following those ancient ways. We're supposed to be going back to those ways. It also says that we're not supposed to be fighting against the heathen like the nation of Israel used to be doing. He wants us to go back to the most righteous way, and that is to live like the natives. One of the elements of righteousness that protects the natives from being destroyed completely by the orcs is from these different reeds and willow bark that they use for clothing that actually hides them, that's used as a protection against the forces of evil. See, people, they think that they're just Stone Age stupid tribes, but they're really not. In fact, the reason why many of them have gone untouched and unbothered and unmolested is because of the clothing that they wear and the traditions that they do. That's why I said that Ihumans are the Aboriginal peoples, the short brown and black people that you see all over the world. Whether it's those pygmies in the Congo, or the short people of the Ad-Hominids Islands, or the people in the Amazon, those are the Ihumans. We, so-called Native Americans, the so-called Elves, we are the Ihumans. And of course, they've been scattered around the world as well. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys. And the next part, man, I got a lot for you, man. I'm going to say that for the next part. Yeah, I decided to say that for the next part. I just wanted to touch on this because it was a nice little connection that I found where I'm pretty much connecting all of the races together. And if you're not convinced, don't worry. I got you in the next part. May peace be with you.